There is a number of ways to improve side edges and make them look nice. Most of those ways require some planning. We should plan to add extra stitches to the project and remember to work them in a certain way to create nice edges. But what to do if we want to fix edges of a finished project? There is a fairly simple way to turn ugly side edges into a lovely chain of stitches that not only looks great, but also prevents edges from curling. In this tutorial, I'll show you how it works. This little technique is done using a crochet hook, and I find that we get better results if we use a crochet hook that is a bit smaller than the needles we used to make the fabric itself. To make the swatch, for example, I used 10mm needles, and I'm going to use 8mm crochet hook to fix these pretty ugly edges. We'll also need yarn, and in most cases you will use the same yarn in the same color as the project. But I'm going to use the same yarn in a different color because I want you to clearly see what's going on. We're going to work from the cast on edge to the bind off edge, and we'll start from the right side edge. Here's what we do. First, find the column of stitches that is at the very edge of the project. Each of these stitches has two legs. The outer leg, the one that is closer to the edge, and the inner leg, the one that is closer to the fabric. So we're gonna look for the inner leg of each of these stitches. And first we insert the crochet hook from left to right, like this, under the inner leg of the edge stitch in the first row of the project. So under this one, this is the inner leg of the first stitch, and I go right under it. Now fold the yarn so that you get a little tail, and place that fold on the crochet hook like this. Then pull this fold through the stitch, creating a loop that's sitting on the crochet hook. Now put the yarn tail aside and use the working yarn to continue this stitching. Insert the crochet hook same way from left to right if you look at the fabric like this. I prefer to hold it with the edge at the top, so I'm gonna go from the bottom up. Insert it under the inner leg of the next stitch, the stitch in the next row. That's gonna be the second row here. Now wrap the working yarn around the hook and pull this wrap through the stitch and through the loop that is already on the hook, like this. And that's what we're gonna do. Now we insert the hook under the inner leg of the third stitch, the next row, wrap it with the yarn, pull it through the work and through the loop that is already on the hook. And go on and on and on, insert it. And it's okay to help, to use your fingers to help the hook to get under the inner leg of a stitch. Especially if the fabric is not as chunky as this one, it might be a bit of a struggle, so it's okay to use your fingers to help you. And go on and on, creating those chains that will result in a lovely, lovely edging. And when you are done, for me it's gonna be in just 2 stitches. And when you are done, you simply cut the yarn. So this was my last stitch, and you already see how nice it looks over here. And I don't have any more stitches to go into, so I simply cut the yarn, leaving a small tail, just long enough to weave it in, and pull the yarn out like this. So I don't have a loop anymore, I just have a tail. And then you hide the tail, weave them in, and here's what happened. You get a nice edging that not just look nice, but it also prevents the fabric from curling. See, on this edge, even as though this swatch is blocked, it still curls in. But this one is quite stable, it doesn't curl. And here's how it looks on the other side. It's not fully reversible, but it looks quite nice, especially if you make it with the same color yarn. Now let's move on to the left side edging. The idea is the same. We also look for the inner leg of the edge stitch, and here's the column of stitches that we'll be working with, and each stitch has two legs. For example, this stitch has an outer leg over here and an inner leg, the one that is closer to the fabric, over here. But we won't start with this stitch, of course. We'll start with the first stitch, the stitch in the first row. This time we will insert the crochet hook from right to left, like this. So we go under that inner leg of the stitch in the first row. Then we take the yarn, fold it, place the fold on the crochet hook, pull it through. Then we go under the inner leg, again right to left, same way, oops, under the inner leg of the next stitch, like this. Then we leave the tail behind, so don't use that one. And then we use the working yarn to make that wrap around the crochet hook, and then we pull that wrap through the work and through the stitch itself. And then we keep going. Next stitch, wrap, pull it through. If you can't do it in one shot, that's okay to do it through the work first and then through the loop. Then again, insert the hook under the next stitch and wrap and pull it through. And same way, work up until you come to the binder edge, and when you are done, cut the yarn, pull it out, and then you'll have nice chain of stitches on both edges. And if you work it with the same color, then it will look like this. See, it's quite nice, it's not curly at all, and it looks okay on the wrong side as well. Here it is, a simple way that drastically improves the look of the side edges. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the next tutorial.